Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Well, I'm taking an in-depth look at the bandsaw, trying to figure out what the problem was, why the blade kept coming off. Got out here in the daylight and I can see now what the issue is. To try and make the blade last a little bit longer, I was oiling the blade. Well, that oil is rather heavy and it makes all the shavings stick on everything, including the guide bearings. So we can see that there's a whole lot of crap on here. And those rollers build up with steel filings. And we got the same thing on the wheels. It's just pushing that blade right off the front of the rollers. So to fix that, went down to Harbor Freight and I picked up some brass brushes like the one I'm using here. I'm going to mount them right there on that steel plate. That way, as anything comes off the blade, it's going to get scraped off by these brass brushes. The brass brushes may not have a real long operating life, but I think they'll hold up pretty good. The other thing I need to do is use lighter oil on the saw blade. I don't need to have that heavy oil. That was just what was in the can. It's 30 weight, the same thing I oil everything with. So I'm going to hit this with some contact cleaner, get it washed off, get all the crap off of it. I'm going to take this steel plate off and take it down into the shop and mount two brushes under it. And then hopefully that'll stop all this metal shavings getting built up onto the machine and I can stop having the blade pop off. Brake cleaner does a nice job of cutting the grease. When I first got this, it hadn't been used in a long time and it was dry as a bone. Which I think is why it worked so well in the beginning. It was clean. And then, in an effort to make it work better, I put oil on the blade and caused it to start loading up with crap. The reason I'm going to use brass wire brushes is because I don't want to have that hardened steel brush going against the saw blade. It would just wear the teeth out. All I really want to have happen is to have the dirt get knocked off the blade. Very plain to see that this is a vent only. For checking lubricant level and type, refer to operator's manual. I'll bet this thing hasn't been lubricated in a long, long time. And I would be remiss to continue running this without any lubrication. There's a link in the description to a Harbor Freight manual for this machine. It's similar, but it's not exactly the same. I bet it has those ubiquitous lifetime bearings. Wipe off the blade too. Yeah, that's pretty well loaded with steel shavings on its own. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a clamp that'll hold those in. Rather than trying to drill through this wire brush, I'm just going to, since I only need half of the brush, I can take one of these brushes and cut it in half and clamp it in on both sides. Can't cover that hole because I have to be able to get the blade in and out, but I can clamp it in on both sides. And that'll knock that swarf off the blade before it gets down to where it gets onto the rollers. Because when this is sawing, that stuff will fall out the bottom. It's very tenacious. That definitely the wrong oil. I think something like kerosene probably would work better. Because that is just downright sticky. It's great, it's motor oil. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to stay on the surface that you put it on. But I think it's too much. While I'm at it, I'm going to take this handle off and see if I can't figure out a better one for it. I don't think it's even tight. Matter of fact, I'm sure it's not. There. That's got that off of there. Now for a vice jaw, that leaves a lot to be desired. For one thing, it's bent. Be good to have a thicker piece of angle in there on that. Well, the thread looks to be in pretty good shape, and the nut is okay. It's just a piece of rough casting. If you tighten that down all the way, it locks up onto the 1/2 inch. I think that's probably a little larger than 1/2 inch. It's a left-hand thread, which means I'm very glad that it didn't get damaged. But this bolt can't be tightened up, otherwise it locks down on that thread. So all this time, this has been just flopping around. And you can see that there's a real big gap at the top where the two come together. If I straighten this out and put some braces on it, it might work. But I think I'd be better off just taking a piece of heavy angle that I got laying over here in the scrap pile. Something like that. That's going to give me a good jaw to work with. I'll replace that back one with this heavy piece and I'll get another one like it. Although I've got to cut some off. Maybe I can, I don't know. We'll see. I'll replace this piece with this one. Well, that piece of heavy angle there will make a good back jaw. And this has got a good steel collar on the inside, but I don't think it's a very good handle because the plastic snapped off. It's a spoked wheel. Looks like it had 3 spokes on it that broke off. Could be from running into it, could be from over tightening it, could be from a variety of things. But I should be able to make up some kind of a handle that's a little bit more robust than this one. You'd think out of all the junk that I got laying around here, I'd be able to come up with something. Okay, that's it for part 2. We have got the blade so it's tracking right. Now I've found what the problem is. I have to cure the problem. And that's going to be a case of putting the brushes on the blade to keep the blade clean, changing the lubricant to a lighter weight oil, and also I want to put some oil in that gearbox on the drive because it can't be running dry.
If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.